What interested me in getting involved with the MacNider Art Museum was just even seeing the building. It is a historical building in town, and it has these beautiful brick patterns that the Keelers did for their brick and tile business.
MacNider means a lot to the community. One thing that's wonderful about it is that it's a city museum. It's open to everyone. You don't need to have a membership. You don't have to pay to come in. Everybody has a chance to come in and expand their worlds through art.
In the beginning, the board made a wonderful decision. It was crystallized in the 70s that this be a collection of American art. And we felt that the museum could not afford to have all types of art, so our limit directly to American art, so we were focused on that area, which helped immensely in our search and scope of our collection.
One of the exhibit experiences that I remember very well was curating an exhibit called Basic Elements, obviously targeted for children. And at that point, I was very much into the whole sensory experience. And the one part of that exhibit that I remember with a smile on my face was a texture tunnel. And the students crawled through it, not being able to see, but they felt all these wonderful textures. And what squeals of delight we heard. It was sort of a high maintenance exhibit, but one that brought kids in again and again. And years later, they came back asking, where is the texture tunnel?
The construction of this museum, the main addition, where it cantilevers over the Glen, was a very unique construction project. I really admire the workers that did it because it was a very difficult job. Mason City's heritage is concrete with the two cement plants here, and they were contributors, and we should honor that using concrete as an exposed material for the museum. Berglund Bianco Architects had a great relationship with Charles MacNider Museum, and they still do today as Berglund and Cram Architects. And Bob Berglund was very interested in the visual arts and contributed a lot during the years to the MacNider Art Museum. And so from day one, they were certainly involved. Bob Berglund designed the original MacNider Art Museum addition to the east. I was involved with the design of the Salisbury edition. I think the Chang Gallery was one of my favorite ones because Betty and Luke Chang, I knew them personally, and Betty really wanted that museum to be a place where you could be by yourself and meditate and be with nature, and also display their wonderful collection.
No, I'm not an artist. The only thing I really wanted was a white ceramic candelabra. But thanks to Dottie Green, I didn't make one, I actually made 4 in a show. And I won first prize. And I could never, ever could center. But I could throw an uncentered pot and an uncentered lid, and they matched. And Bill, I would say, oh, Bill, I think I should, he was my teacher many times, I don't know how he stood it. And I said, Bill, I think I should throw this pot away. He said, oh, no. I like lopsided pots, Sally. I think you should keep it.
We do a raku firing once or twice a year, not only for my class, but also for museum classes. That's a different process when we do it out on the front lawn, and so people can come by and see, and that's maybe the one thing that when I run into my old students years later, they always say, I can't remember what it's called, but I remember when we were out on the driveway and did the pottery firing out there and roasted marshmallows over the kill.
fish monster. Yep, okay, she's coming by you. Oh, shoot! All right, you're good. She's coming by you, Peggy. Oh, I don't know. She's going clear over here. Just go like that. Go like that. Oh, Lordy. Relax. Will's coming over here to me, I think. Okay. Oh, gosh. I'm going to help you, Karen. All right.
Keep going around, keep going around.
Okay, watch out, watch out, watch out.
Okay, all right.
Where are you going? He's going right here to me. Oh, that is cool. Now come apart. You can come apart. There you go.
I can remember before I was on the board that the board members were debating whether or not to have this collection of puppets in an art museum. And it was a tough debate, but they decided they would do it. Bill Baird had said he wanted to leave them in his favorite hometown, and that was Mason City. These 2 rooms were set up for those puppets, and it has been the most wonderful addition to our museum because children come in here and that's what they want to see first, but then they become aware of a lot of different kinds of art at the same time. And I rarely have a group come through of children that doesn't want to play in that puppet theater.
One other very important item is the support that the museum receives from the city of Mason City. The facility itself is owned by the city. The city helps support and maintain that facility. This has given the museum a wonderful ability to concentrate on its art acquisition, its programs, and its expansion for its students, and opening all of the exhibits to the public. Those items are all funded by the membership and contributions of the public. But a great part of the museum's success is attributable to the city of Mason City and its generosity in supporting the building and the facilities.
Describe the art museum to some of my friends. Great classes. You can look at all the paintings and drawings around the building. There's pottery here and there's sculptures outside. The staff here is really nice. Like Peggy, the clay class instructor.
We always had things that were inspiring us. We didn't lack for inspiration at all. I worked mainly on the wheel. When I came in, everybody had to get aprons and get dirty. Most of the people had originally been hand builders, but they were really thrilled to get on the wheel. And I advise everybody to try it at least once.
Recently, we've been holding some lifelong learning classes. We've had creative writing looking at some of these paintings, and they've been very interesting and well received. And I'm glad to see that we're having them here. Well, when I have visitors coming to Mason City, I always, in fact, suggest that they come to the MacNiders if it's an open day. And quite often I come and take them to the museum. And when I meet people who have never been here, who live in Mason City, I encourage them to come to the museum because it's just a jewel.
Al Herlitzka and John McGregor approached my grandmother to inquire as to whether the family would be interested in providing a gift to the city of Mason City, and building was selected, and my grandfather's only stipulation was that it be named after his father, Charles Henry MacNider. My grandfather, the general, was an imposing figure and one of a kind. At the end of the First World War, on the morning of Armistice Day, he was at the time a lieutenant colonel, and he received an order to send his 2,500 men across a bridge at 8 that morning when the truce was scheduled to be enacted at 11. He refused the order. He was absolutely convinced that his 2,300 men would die on that bridge, and there was absolutely no sense for it. It takes some courage to refuse an order like that. He was the first general officer wounded in the Second World War. He was on New Guinea, and he was blown out of a jeep in Boona, a quarter mile in front of his troops. I consider it a badge of honor that our family's name is attached to an institution that presents fine arts in a way that is accessible. There are no admissions fees. It gives the people of North Iowa an opportunity to interact with traveling exhibits and a permanent collection, the quality of which is unimpeachable. It simply opens doors that would not be there for the people of North Iowa if it didn't exist.
And it's fun. It's fun. It's fun. 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 It's fun. Fun.
My mother, Pat Burgo, spent a lot of time at this museum culturing the Christmas programs. And I can remember coming back to see what she did for that. And she would go out and get all sorts of people to donate poinsettias and time. And she would decorate the museum year after year. That was just a really fond memory of our families, to see my mother do that for MacNider, and not only for MacNider, but for the community. And I think we have a lot of other volunteers who do this on the side that we need to acknowledge.
We have to be thankful that the beginning people selected Dick Leet as the director. He did a phenomenal job, and that got the museum started on the path that it has today.
Working with staff, working with volunteers, and museum members in the city, I couldn't say enough good about how much they contributed and how much a part of making this place a success it was. We had very good working relationships, and everybody, I guess the phrase they use today is bought into what we were about and really worked to try and make it happen.
When I came here as a child to classes, I think that I viewed the museum as an everyday opportunity. And when I lived in other communities, I soon realized that not every place has a MacNider museum. People join the museum to work on different projects and galas and exhibits and film committees and all the different things that make the museum what it is. They create a wonderful arts environment in the North Iowa community over the years.
It's just remarkable for me to see how the museum has grown in the last 50 years to be such a major contributor to our quality of life here in North Iowa. And now we ask that you continue to support the museum so we can continue to thrive for another 50 years. We offer a wide variety of classes for all age groups, and throughout the year we host special events also for all different age groups. We could always use your financial support, and please stop by sometime and browse through our diverse American art collection.